Hello, everyone, and it is me, the Big Radical again, and thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Keeping It Radical with me, Aaron Robinson, and today I am here with a very good friend of mine, Sheri. Sheri, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for reaching out to me to be on the podcast. So for all the radicals and everyone that doesn't know, Sheri and I have, we were at coffee this morning. We were talking about 6 years now.
Yeah.
Known each other 6 years. We'll get into how we met each other in a second. But when I started my podcast, you kind of listened to the podcast.
I did.
And you reached out to me, which not a whole lot of people reach out. It's usually I end up doing all the reaching out.
Yeah.
But you said, Aaron, I have a story.
I did. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Is I'll be honest with you, it wasn't just the fact of having a story. I wanted to hang out with you, and apparently I had to get cancer to be able to hang out with you because you've been avoiding me for 6 years. It's true, though. I've asked you for 6 years. How, I can go back in my text messages, and I've asked you, let's go for coffee. Let's walk our dogs.
Oh, my God.
And there's nothing. So then finally I was like, all right, I want to do the podcast with you. I said, I've got cancer. And you're like, yes, let's do it. And I was like, yes, I finally get to go for coffee with her.
Oh, Sheri. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. Well, thank you for that. Well, you know, I have come over to your house a couple times.
Yes, you did.
We have gone for dog walks.
Yeah. We've gone. Did we go for one after the first one? I think we went for one after the first one, the original one, yeah.
You know what I most enjoy and love about you, Sheri, is there are not, I guess in my life, there are not a whole lot of individuals that come into my life and where you don't talk with each other for a certain amount of time afterwards and you pick up exactly where you leave off. A lot in my life, it is a lot of people, a lot of situations, it is we want Aaron all the time, every time, and the second I either get busy or something happens and I take a step back or I'm not there, that's usually often when that friendship or my friendships end up going right down the shitter. But with you, it's just like every time we get back together, we pick up from where that first time when we met each other at the River Cree Casino.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I have a story about that one, and it is for all the radicals out there. So, you know, I feel like maybe sometimes I could maybe really get into some trouble with this comment, but a lot of men get a bad rep for being kind of pigs sometimes, or having that piggish manliness when you go to like strippers or just around people. Yep. And you know, 6 years ago, me and Scott just moved to the West End, and our neighbor had tickets for Thunder Down Under, the male stripper show at the River Cree. And that was when I met you.
You did.
And me and Scott were the only, well, maybe there was another gay couple or something somewhere in there. I didn't see any, but me and Scott were probably the only two gay guys in that whole entire conference center. And like they say, guys, ooh, those women were pig-ish, piglets.
I was embarrassed to be female.
I sat there and I was like, you know, men aren't that bad. Like, men might make the comments, but the women throw themselves. They flock at that pervert like no tomorrow. I was actually a little impressed.
Yeah. Oh, I gave one of the strippers $20 to give my girlfriend a lap dance, and I've never seen her vibrate like that. Like, I was embarrassed. I couldn't even watch. I was like, I'm out of here. Like, I can't. I was so embarrassed to be a female. That was wild.
Oh, it was so funny. And, you know, it was a good show. It was the first time that, you know, I'm not into male strippers. To me, I don't know.
The dancing was nice. Like, they had good choreography. How do you say that? Choreography?
Geography?
Yeah.
It's one of the words I can't say.
Yeah, they had really good dance moves. So, and stuff. But and you know what, but I'm like all about fitness and stuff too. So like they were all in shape, and so I was kind of looking at like, you know, like I had nice pecs and this guy had, like, it was that kind of thing for me. It wasn't like, ooh, naked men.
See, and for me, I'm like, oh, you can move like that, but that is not how you move in the bedroom. So it does not impress me much.
Yeah,
I like these great big huge worm moves on the ground on top. I'm like, that's not how it works.
No. No. Can you imagine they go home after and they're just like starfish?
Honey, look what I learned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I am a little break dancing on top of somebody. Never heard.
Can you imagine, like, they probably hook with these women after, and these women think they're going to get a ride, and then, like, they lay in bed, and they're like, all right, you just go on top and take care of it. I've worked all day.
But it was funny, too, because, like, in a lot of times, it's almost that stereotype of that ladies who are, and I don't want to use the word older, but we'll say older than 30. And that I almost expected everyone under 30 to be wild, and it was
No.
everyone over that. It was just an eye opener. I've never been to something like that.
Inappropriate elderly.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
no, I get it. Yeah.
It was just the grandmas.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So
yeah,
we met each other.
It was embarrassing.
Oh my God. I don't think it was embarrassing. It was an eye opener.
For a female, that was embarrassing. Like that was I looked around and that was
That was like for Thunder Down Under.
That was sad.
Anyways.
Yeah, there was a lot of very.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So we met each other. I remember, I think I was standing at a booth.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends was buying a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when, I don't even know if I talked to you or if you talked to me, but that was where we said hi and you were with your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of where our little friendship relationship really much started. I loved your energy, your vibe.
Yep.
It was reciprocated on your end. And then I think Scott and I were not big him and I don't gamble at all, but I think we stayed at the River Cree. We drank for a little bit, and then we went home, and that was kind of our little love made in heaven.
Yeah.
And we have a lot in common, dog people, all that stuff.
And then it only took me, 6 years to sit down with
you. There's been sitting down in between that time, Sheri.
I know. I just had to throw that out there.
I do appreciate you calling me out because not enough people do, so radicals.
Didn't bother at all. I just, I'll just continue to stalk you till the next time. So, that or I'll just get another terminal illness. And then we'll be good.
So over the years, I would say, yes, we may not hang out lots, but I consider you a good friend.
I feel we chat all the time. I said, text and Instagram, and I'm not. Yeah, we always talk. So I'm always aware of what's going on. I keep you up to date in the loop. But
exactly.
Life's busy. Like, it's shocking how fast, you talk to somebody and then 6 months later, like I've gone on things and wish somebody a happy birthday, and then all of a sudden I go back and it's like I'll go back to text them again and I'm like, oh my God, it's been a year. Mm-hmm. Like I wish the last text of them was happy birthday. Mm-hmm. So it flies by.
Very true, very true. So you've gone through a lot. You have lived a lot. You've loved a lot. You've lost a lot.
Yeah.
And Sheri, that when you reached out wanting to even just have this conversation or have a story or hang out, that was something that I really wanted to touch on, is that I feel like in society today we all get very caught up in our own little worlds. Mm-hmm. And to be able to hear someone else's story that has loved, lost, and been happy and back again and everything again, I think it's so powerful. And so to hear your story, and there's a lot of personal things that I know about you, you have overcome a lot where, girl, if even 5% of that happened to me, I don't even know if I would be sitting here today. So there's a lot to talk about. And I'm going to kind of let you navigate that conversation because there's a lot to talk about and I could talk about a lot with you. But we are here for your journey over the last couple of years, as well as you have been dealing a lot with cancer treatment and having cancer, as well as experimental treatments.
Yes.
Cold capping, that kind of stuff. We were at coffee earlier and we were kind of talking about the medical system.
Yes.
And
and there's so many flaws.
So many flaws, and how you pay for a lot of it out of your pocket, which, to be honest with you, just shocks me completely that we are in this country with free healthcare, but there's that line of black and white where even in healthcare you can be like, oh well, that doesn't go in our purview.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's been eye-opening for sure. And like I said, the most important thing about coming on here with you was just being able to kind of get people to, I guess, my four main things learning with everything with cancer was just to advocate for yourself, educate yourself, positive thinking and diet were the biggest things. And I know every person's different, but I think a lot of it can be used you don't have to have cancer obviously to use it, but in anything in life. And I have a very, very strong faith as well, which has helped me through a lot of the unfortunate things that have happened in my life. But I think I'm just glad that you allow me to have a voice and try and help somebody. If there's just one person out there that can listen to this and save their hair, or push their doctor for another test because they know something's wrong, then that's,
Well, and that's my whole goal, is even with this podcast, and I tell everyone, I tell other realtors and friends, as well as my marketing team, I said, if I can just get one person to resonate with one story, then at the end of the day, the money I've spent, the time I spent, all of this is worth it.
Yeah, the
for
biggest,
that one person.
Yeah, I turned 50 in September, And everybody had asked me for my 50th birthday, like, what do you want as a gift for your birthday? And I would tell all my male friends, I'm like, go get a prostate exam. And all the females, I wanted them to get mammograms. I was like, just do that. That's my 50th birthday. As long as I know all my friends are cancer-free,
Yeah.
I'm good.
I don't know. I might enjoy a prostate exam.
That's a whole other podcast, people.
Oh my God. I'm joking, radicals. I would not enjoy it at all.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole other podcast. Stay tuned.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. That is for part 3.
I went in on that one.
But no, Sheri, you're very correct. Is like just to get one person.
Yes.
Because in today's society, you know, it's kind of like that pyramid, almost MLM. Is you tell one person something,
yeah,
and then they tell one person, and that person tells 1 or 2 people, and it just continues to like spider web out. And again, you touch one person, not in a naughty touch. I always like to tell people that you touch
Naughty's
one person.
Nice though, too.
Well, you know, a little naughty touch down again.
You and I've had these conversations.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, sometimes. But it is, you touch, you speak to one person, and that resonates through them. They speak to 1 or 2 people, and it just continues that train, that motion. It keeps things in motion.
Yeah.
So you have gone through a lot of stuff.
Yes.
When the very first, like I very much find you a very strong individual, Sheri.
Thank you.
And I'm going to, I hope this is okay, but you were married once.
I was. I've been married a couple times. A few times, yeah.
Okay. So I don't...
I'm Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh my God.
Yes. I'm married, widowed, you know.
Married, widowed. But like when I first met you, you know, you told me the story about...
Chris.
Mm-hmm. And for the radicals out there, that story hit me so hard for you to be able, and I'm going to let you tell them that story, but you have such incredible strength, Sheri.
Oh, sweet, thank you.
So you met Chris, you had a wonderful life with him, a beautiful dog, Maddie, and all that stuff.
Maddie. Yeah, no, I was very blessed. I was going through divorce and had met Chris. He was actually the guy that my ex-husband bought his guns from.
Oh, really?
And we actually went into a gun store, and Chris and I just connected. And then when Dave and I went through our divorce, actually Dave went into the store and saw Chris and actually said to him, gave him my phone number, and said to Chris, you know what, Sheri and I, not only are we not on the same page, but we're not even on the same bookshelf, we're getting a divorce. But I think you should reach out to Sheri because you guys seem to have a good connection.
He did that?
Yeah.
Oh.
So then after Dave and I split, Chris and I contacted each other, went for coffee, and we were inseparable after that. So we were together for 5.5 years, and then we were married in May of 2014 in Edmonton, and then we had a beautiful ceremony here. Mm-hmm. And then in January of 2015, we were in Cuba, and we got remarried on the beach. Had the most beautiful ceremony. Yeah. We got up in the mornings, laid by the beach. I went back to the room at noon. I got ready. We got remarried on the beach. Had a beautiful supper. Went back to the room, had a very romantic night. And then, he passed away in his sleep that night. And so, but you know, when you look back on it, there's so many positives because he loved the ocean and he loved Cuba. And, he got on the right elevator and went straight to heaven, and he was there. It was absolutely, you know, I learned a lot about, you know, our the embassies, stuff like that. I learned a lot about, you know, how they're there to help you. It was a beautiful thing. Like, there's a lot of positives that came out of it. And anything that's negative, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, even in my career, it doesn't matter what the negative is. You can always find a positive. You just have to look for it. And there's so many positives in, you know, I miss him every day. And, you know, I'm very sad that he's gone. It'll be 8 years this January. But there's so many blessings. Like, I've made new friends and, you know, it's just, I just look at the positive in it.
Well, I love that you say that because I met you, that was kind of a couple years after that. That was kind of when I met you. And I remember when you told me this story, I didn't even know what to think of the story. And because if that was to happen to me, and like, how you talked about how many positives came out of it, and how for years you celebrated his life and everything you did.
I do.
And you took care of his dog Maddie, which then became your best friend. To see how you honored his life and his legacy, like, it was beautiful to see.
It's funny because everybody, when stuff happens to someone in their life, like, he passed away January 7th. So now every January 7th, I do something, I make a new memory. So instead of like focusing on like, oh my God, that was so sad, and curling up in a ball and feeling sorry for myself because it's been 8 years, I'm like, hell no. I'm like, he wouldn't have wanted that. He would have been like, celebrate it, like, do something fun for yourself. So like, there's times like I'll go skiing in Banff, or Maddie and I would go do something on January 7th, or I'd take the day off work and I'd plan it if it was like on a weekend or something like that. And it was just something beautiful. And even his birthday is May 8th. And on May 8th, Maddie and I would do something fun together. And it's funny because May 8th, just this last May, was his birthday, obviously. And then Maddie passed away on May 9th. So it was funny because I got her, and then he was like, because I've, like, a very strong faith, and then I can see him up in heaven going, Kate, now she's mine. Like, now I get her back. And it was the most beautiful thing.
You have 2 guardian angels,
right?
Now.
And it was the most beautiful thing because, like, when she passed away, like, I wasn't a puddle, I wasn't upset because I know where she's going. And I know, like, she passed away and he was there to greet her. And so it's absolutely beautiful. So I looked at it like, I was a little jealous because I'm like, damn, bitch. I'm like, you get to see him before I do. I'm like, that's not even fair. But yeah, but no, it was beautiful. Like, you got to look at the positives and things. And even with everything I'm going through now, and we'll talk about my journey and stuff and what's going through now. But even when I found out I had cancer, and my biggest thing that I was at peace with was like, okay, like, if I pass away, I'm like, who can I come back and haunt? I'm like,
give me your top 5.
right? Like, it's like, but I believe in, life after death, and I believe in, that, because I've gone to mediums, and I've gone to people, and I've heard people speak and stuff, and learned about, like, they're, if someone's sitting there, you don't even know them from Adam, and they're telling you about, what your dad smoked as a kid, and they'd have no idea. The only way they would know that is if they were actually, like, able to connect with the afterworld. I know this is gonna sound like a hokey conversation, but that kind of thing calms me, because it's like, okay, well, it's not just over after, because how would they know that? Yeah, it's not the end. Like, I'm not like, maggot food. Like, it's not like that.
I love that you said that, because me being a gay man, when I came out and I started really kind of involving myself in the gay circles and whatnot, a lot of individuals that come out of the closet usually, and it's not usually, it's just life, usually have somewhat come from the church or have had bad experience with the church and whatnot. And usually when they end up coming out, there's that conversation is, well, you know what, in the Bible it doesn't say that, or whatever it is. And what I've noticed is a lot of my friends have gone to that atheist side of everything, and they're just very much, you know what, no, I just want to see dirt. I just want to be done. I don't believe in any of that. And for me, that's fine. Each to their own, whatever gets you through that day to the next one. But for me, having that faith and that belief, whether it's spiritual, religious, or whatnot, but knowing that it's not the end, even just praying, and like me and you were talking a lot about like our years and stuff, and like there have been times where I have felt very alone. Yeah. But to just be able to bow your head and talk to whoever you're talking to and know that you're not alone. Yeah.
Oh, it's true. Like, and I think a lot of people listen to this are probably going to think her cheese is nowhere near her crackers. She's a little nuts.
I got the Kubasov for the cheese and crackers.
We're good. They'll put the cheese back on the cracker after. Yeah. But I think a lot of people think I'm crazy, but like, I believe that we all have spiritual guides. And there are people in our lives that, that we didn't expect to be in our lives. Mm-hmm. And they're always around us. And when people always say, my gut, I had a gut instinct. Well, it's not your gut instinct. Those are your spiritual guides. They're telling you, like, don't do that. Like, that gut feeling came from somebody to say, don't do that. Like, they're protecting you. So I think that that's really important. And
very true.
Yeah, like, and it's, like, I get gut feelings all the time. And I'm like,
a lot of people have said when you get a gut feeling, you got to trust it because that is you saying something's wrong. But I never have actually heard it in this aspect of things. Of when you're getting a gut feeling, maybe that is
Yeah.
that nudge from, if you want to say the other side, or just like just whatever you want to call it. Maybe that is. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's
Sheri.
actually beautiful, and actually,
Wow.
I think. Yeah, and when
That's powerful.
It is. I know. Stay tuned for part 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Part 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, right.
It's just me, Sheri. It's just gonna be me and you. This podcast is gonna be keeping it radical with Aaron Sheri.
Yeah. The journey of Sheri. It never ends.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like I remember one of the guys when my career, like I've had quite the career, and I used to work in the hospital as a special constable.
Yeah.
And it was in the ER, and we used to like wrestle and fight psych patients when they came in off their meds. It was awesome. It's 4 years of learning how to fight. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Actually, that does sound pretty cool.
It was cool. That's part 4. Yeah. Well, we're gonna let's keep documents. I was like, yeah. But it was a wild thing, and I remember a guy came in, and I was at the Misericordia, and they don't come into the Mis if they're gonna live, because we don't have a trauma unit there. So he came in, and it was a gunshot wound, and I remember he sat in this room, and they're like, hey, well, he came in, I had to follow him to the room, and they're like, hey, Sheri, well, he passed away. It was a gang thing. He shot him in the shoulder, and it ricocheted, and it ended up killing him. And so they're like, you need to sit now with the body and preserve evidence. And I was like, all right. I'm like, fine. It's just a dead body. It's not a big deal. Which is funny, because it actually prepared me for when Chris died, and I actually got to see the body, and they were all worried I'd be traumatized. And I'm like, I've worked in a morgue, and like I've seen this stuff. That doesn't bother me at all. So it's kind of like I said, everything happens in your life for a reason. And so I sat with this guy and stuff, and then and it was funny because when I actually looked over at him, and I was like, oh my God, I know you. And I was like. And it flashed back to when I worked in the prison, and I was a guard at the remand center. I was on a unit, and the door got locked on the unit for some reason. And so I was on the unit, and there's a bunch of inmates out, and the cleaner of the unit came over, and it was a gang unit, and he came over, and he's like, boss, did you get locked out? And I was like, yeah. And of course, I'm a little scared. I'm a female in a unit with all these gang members, and I'm like, that's it's going to go one way
scared too.
Or the other.
Not to stereotype, but I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, someone's going to use me as a hostage.
So he was like, and he was like, boss, just stay with me, no problem. He goes, I'll protect you. So he stood there, and he just talked to me until another guard came in and unlocked the door, and that was him laying on the stretcher.
No.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And it flashed back to like, that's him. And now now like my gangsta spiritual guide, it's him, 100%. 100% it's him. And I've seen him in my dreams, and I've had conversations with him. And so like, it's the funniest thing that that's somebody like who's in my life helped me. And then I kind of helped him in a way of like kind of, I wouldn't say preserving evidence, but maybe I have a strong faith, so I would talk to him and stuff, because I know that his spirit is still in the room, and he's probably freaking out because he doesn't know what's going on, and just having that conversation. And like I said, their cheese is nowhere near the cracker on this conversation, but there's.
So I have a question for you about your faith. Have you always were you raised in a church? Like, are you religious more so? Are you spiritual? Has that always been a part of you, or was that something that was like you found later on in life?
I grew up Roman Catholic, and I had the best grandma on earth that would take me to church, and she was an absolute sweetheart. And I knew I had to have a faith growing up because I went to Roman Catholic church and stuff in school, but I don't think my faith really affected me until I actually like started in the hospital and more like started in corrections. And just seeing like all the negative in the world, and seeing and being grateful for craft dinner. Like when you work in it, like, and just being grateful for things and seeing people for who they really are, and not judging people, and realizing like people make mistakes. Like I make my living off people's mistakes. So it's like, well, I'm not here to judge people. Like, and it's just seeing people for who they really are, as opposed to, and it's like, I always tell people, I tell my offenders, which I'm fine saying I'm a probation officer, but I tell my offenders, I'm like, there's only 2 people in the world that can judge you. God and a judge, and I'm neither.
Very true, Sheri.
But it's not my place to do it. So I think going back, I think actually seeing life on the other side working in a prison and in corrections, I think that really made my faith very solid.
I love that you said that, because I find growing up, I grew up very Baptist. My family always went to the Baptist churches. I went to a private Christian school and then a Catholic high school and all that. And I find that faith, being taught faith is one thing, but putting that faith to practice in the real world, and just, that is a completely other different topic. And that is where I find my faith as well as my spirituality has grown more than ever sitting in a pew. And like, I do love to sit in a pew, and I love to like the songs and the preaching and the message, but it's putting that message to real life practice. That's where I really feel that faith and spirituality is really grown and fostered a lot more. You only know so much by getting preached at, but really practicing it.
Well, I think, and for me, I think it was realizing how grateful I am, and then realizing that the things that I'm grateful for in my life were given to me for a reason. And then realizing that it was not only my hard work that got me those things, but it was a higher power that put me in places where I need to be. And my biggest belief is that God only gives us the challenges He knows we can handle.
Isn't that
so? And He's given me a lot of challenges, and Him and I will have a chat when the time comes, because I feel that I've had too many, but that's for a whole other podcast.
But He doesn't give you more than what you can handle.
He doesn't, right? But He's giving me a lot. And I'm kind of I'm at my breaking point. I'm like, out of all the things in my life I've had to fight for, I didn't expect to be fighting for my life. But Him and I will talk. We'll have those words. But like, even like when I said like for craft dinner, like. I remember the moment I worked in the hospital, or worked at the remand, and I went home that night, and I remember I was married to Dave at the time, and he goes, what do you want for supper? And I'm like, we'll just make KD. And I'm like, oh yes. I'm like, cool. And he was like, why are you excited about KD? And I was like, because I see what the inmates eat. Yeah. And I'm like, they eat like, overcooked macaroni noodles with, powdered milk made into milk, and then powdered cheese. And then I'm like, it's the most disgusting thing. I wouldn't eat that. Yeah. And then I'm like, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the fact I can have Starbucks. I'm grateful that I get to go to the store and buy clean underwear and wear it, because they don't get to do that. So like the little things that Sheri. We take for granted every day.
So true.
Yeah, you can't. Like the fact that, and then seeing with Chris and him not waking up that day, like I go to bed every night and I think, I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned today. And then please grant me tomorrow. And then I wake up in the morning, and then I wake up in the morning, and I'm like, yes, another day. And then, I'm like, I'm so grateful for today. Thank you for today. And then, part of me is like, who can I piss off today? But no, I don't do that. I do that a little bit, but yeah.
Sheri,
But it's just, I wake up thinking, yes, I have another day. Yeah. Like, it's a blessing. And then, like, it's just, I love it, yeah.
Sheri, I'm really excited for our part 2 conversation, where we really kind of get into the nitty-gritty as to what your life in this last 2 years has been like. And I'm really excited to explore that conversation of how your faith has really contributed to your strength in all of this. So thank you so much, Sheri, for joining me today. And to all my radicals, I will have Sheri's contact information as well as Instagram and all that stuff up on the screen. But Sheri, I appreciate you.
Thanks.
And I'm really excited for our conversation next week, where we do part 2 of this to really talk about just the stuff you've gone through, experimental treatments,
about
and all that.
Big C,
about the big
COVID.
C. Exactly.
Yeah, the other one.
Anyway, Sheri, I appreciate you. I love you, radicals. Radical out.